Hello viewers, Super GT here. So you can see here, Gran Turismo Sport. Now, I'm going to have to say first off, apologies for the fact that it's a replay, because I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't record the original gameplay, so I'm going to have to go with the replay footage, hence the annoying black windows at the top and the bottom of the screen. But you can see roughly what I would have seen during the race. So as we get lunged into turn 1 by a feisty Italian. So this is Willow Springs. It's not a track that I've really done too much, and it's not one that has featured on this channel a huge amount. But here we are in the desert in the States, and it's a really unforgiving circuit. Really unforgiving. It's actually, it looks fairly simple. Looking at the map, it looks fairly simple, but it really isn't. This section here is very technical, and it's actually quite difficult to get right. As the Turk and the Italian, they're going hammer and tong on each other. The main thing you'll notice is pretty much the infinite runoff of desert. So if you make a mistake and go wide, you are going to go wide for about 10 days, and you have to sort of make base camp and then make a trek on the way back to the circuit. And most people won't even survive the return journey. It's that long. But hopefully that won't happen. As we go into the final turn, very difficult, long, sweeping corner. A couple of these corners at this circuit. These guys are still going at it. I'm going to get a run on both of them here. But the Italian's having none of it. He's just going to swipe across. Where's the sportsmanship there, mate? Absolutely none shown. None displayed as he just turns across last second. Gets a bit of a slide. And I'm going to get a bit of a slide as well. But we're going to sort of slot back in. The Mercedes is going to come back. Go very wide, almost over the line onto the desert. You don't want to do that. As soon as you're off, and you're not coming back. And well, there I am. I'm going to go off, and it's going to take a long time before I can get the car under control and back onto the circuit and back into, or down into, 8th place. Getting overtaken by a German. So through the technical section, back down the hill, and we have a little bit of a chicane here. This guy's going to have a big moment, just about keep under control, but lose a position up into 7th. The Turk here not having a good time through the turn 5 and 6 sequence, and we've got a Portuguese guy off the circuit coming back on. He's driving the Toyota here, which I featured in the previous video around Blue Moon. As I just try to go around the outside, just dip 2 wheels onto the sand, and I'm spinning wide for days. Go over a massive jump, 10 out of 10 for style points. But unfortunately that loses you a lot of time in a race. It's not ideal going off and doing a nice little 360 over a ridge. So as a result of that, I find myself now in 7th at the end of the second lap, with now an increasing margin to the guys ahead. You can kind of keep track of the race on the map ahead, on the top right of the screen. Unfortunately on the replay, the time gaps don't work on the left hand side there. It does only just display our positions, so you're going to have to make do with just using the map. So you see the group is just ahead around this corner, but that's still a good 5-6 seconds ahead. But the basic anatomy of racing, if a couple of guys are very close to each other, defending, fighting, they're going to lose time. And currently I am on my own. I can kind of lap nice and pleasantly, get a couple of consistent laps down, and hopefully begin to reel them in. But this is the situation at the end of lap number 4, so I kind of did put in a couple of good laps, but it was going to be an incident that really brought me back into contention. So a yellow flag coming into the final corner, and guess who's involved? Yes, it's the feisty Italian, the Portuguese guy there, also involved. So we're going to get slipstream. Is he going to pull a nice little move on me again? I'm going to pull to the left hand side, and he's just going to pull over to the left slightly at the last second as well. So, not the kindest defending you'll ever see in your life. As we go into this corner, he's got a bit better this time. I have more respect for that defending, because he picked his side and he stuck to it, which is what you should really do. And coming through the exit, not quite enough speed or space to go for the move on the exit. He's going to run wide, no fault of mine. And into the next corner, just come back on with a nasty little punt wide, and he's just really going to hammer it home just to make sure he stays up in 5th place. So once again, as a result of this, we're just losing even more time to 4th place. That gap is getting even bigger. but this Italian is hell-bent on 5th place. I suppose that is his favourite. I mean, my favourite is 6th place, but I have ambitions of higher up than that. The top group are just crossing the start line just about now, so you see how far behind we have fallen, a rather large fall from grace so far in this race. Into the final corner, how is it going to work? It's a very late apex, it's very easy to turn in too early for this one, and I think I have done exactly that here as I run wide, coming back onto the circuit. Not losing too much ground though to the Italian ahead, thankfully, and the Portuguese guy behind not quite able to capitalise. So the Toyota that the guy behind me is driving really fast around the long corners. In fact, I was looking at the top 10 superstars times, and many of them were using that Toyota. And I'm going to look up the inside here. There's a really good exit to that corner, so I'm up the inside, and I kind of just brush him a little bit wide. He's going to push me wide and then just come across once again. The Portuguese guy out of nowhere, I don't think he could really see that one coming. And as a result of all that, I'm off the circuit. So this is just one of those annoying examples when you got someone on the track with you who you just rather would not be anywhere near them. And this Italian, we saw him lunge into turn 1, which was fair enough, it was a good move, but then a couple of dodgy defensive moves and coming back on with a dirty rejoin. So absolutely zero respect shown by him so far. The problem is, it's the annoying thing because he's fairly quick. Look at him, I mean, he's up there, he's lapping fairly quickly. You just wish that he would, if you just stop defending so much, stop fighting so much, you might be able to finish a bit higher up. All this fighting that you're doing is just losing time. And as a result, I mean, he and this Portuguese guy who's directly ahead of me now had some sort of coming together at the end of lap 4, which is why I caught up. So it's just things like that you should really eliminate from your game. If you're getting in too many incidents, you're probably doing something wrong, even if it seems like it's always the other guy's fault. If you're getting involved in something a lot, there is always something you can do, and I suppose that applies to me because I am getting involved. I suppose the best thing I could do is just go nowhere near some people, just let them go and just hope that they don't start defending. That's the problem. Sometimes you do have to kind of sit off of someone. If you're right on their tail, they will just start defending, even though you don't want them to. You want them just to start going. You're not going to overtake them. Sometimes it's best just to sit off them by about a second, so they don't defend. But then here's a bit of karma. He's just going to slide very wide. So off you go, mate. Unlucky. He's going to get reset. He's going to go way back. So back to the action here. So this is a really good feature. You can see there, as I get close to this guy, he was in 15th. He ghosts out, which is really, really useful. Now the guy ahead didn't quite know that. You see the Portuguese guy reacted to the guy coming out of the pits, but he was a lap down, and the guy who was a lap down kind of reacted to the guy in 3rd there. So they reacted to each other, even though they were ghosted out. So that's something that has been recently implemented in the game. People who aren't on the same lap will be ghosted from each other, so you can't make contact. It's so useful. You can just kind of forget about other people. If they're a lap down, you just don't have to worry about them at all. You might as well just forget that they're there. So that's a really useful feature, and to be honest, Forza needs that. Forza just really needs that. I suppose in an endurance race, like a really long race, then yeah, back markers are a big part of a race. So you might want to keep it there. You might not want people to be ghosted. But in a short sprint race, like these kind of races, and especially on Forza when you've got 3-minute races, then no one should be getting lapped on that kind of race, then having ghosts is really, really useful. So we're going to dive into the pits here at the end of lap number 8. So just beyond halfway. Let's see how this one goes. Diving in. We were a couple of seconds behind the Portuguese guy there as we went in, and just waiting for that fuel amount to go up before we drive away. There we go. And I've jumped the Portuguese guy in the pit stops, so that has been a rather successful stop. Not sure why. Maybe he put in way too much fuel, or this car maybe just uses less fuel than that one. I don't know, but either way, it doesn't really matter to me. I have found myself in front, which is a good thing. So I'm into 4th. That's a positive development, seeing as the initial laps of this race really didn't go very well at all. So now I think it's a case of doing what we can to catch up with the guys ahead. I'm not sure exactly where this guy in 3rd is. The guy just immediately ahead of us there, who's just gone off the circuit, is in 14th, so there he's actually just teleported behind. So looking at the map, the next group are going into the final corner now, so hopefully the guy in 3rd is involved in that little group there, so that is maybe 6 or 7 seconds ahead. As I tried to estimate, it might even be more than that. So ideally I'm waiting for an incident, so some sort of crashing or fighting. I think the Finn in the lead at this point is a bit clear of the 2 Frenchies in 2nd and 3rd, so they've got a bit of fighting to do amongst each other, whereas the Finn can kind of pull away at this exact point here. So I've gone for the Chevrolet C7R, one of my favourite cars in Group 3. I do really enjoy using this car, and I do feel as though it has really good handling as well, which is kind of surprising. I normally associate American cars with just really good power, but this car does have very, very good handling. It's very planted through the long corners. As I mentioned earlier though, the Toyota, the FGT1 I think it's called, does seem to have the best overall kind of handling package through the long corners. You can see on this track plenty of very long corners, like one here, very long on the gas, and then, well, it's not really long, but it is it's an important corner on the track leading onto this back straight, and it does go very well in that Toyota. And of course the final couple of corners here, another yellow flag, guy going very wide, so always looking out for these yellow flags, just wondering or hoping that it's one of the guys ahead. Obviously you don't, in racing you don't want other people to have accidents and crash, but if it's going to benefit me, then I'll quite happily see it happen. So crossing the line to begin lap 11, 4 laps to go in this one. Is it going to get any better? So the last couple of laps have been fairly steady. The guy behind is doing a good job of keeping that pressure up. He isn't right on my tail, but in racing, if you can just stay within sight, within their mirrors, give them something to think about, then you might just draw enough pressure. Now this is the view from the replay camera. For some reason it's got stuck on the pit entry, so you can't really see too much. Well, you can see these guys go flying wide on the exit of the final corner, so less replay angles from here to the end, because the replay camera kind of just messed itself up. But no worries, we're going to go back to the chase cam here. So on to the back straight leading into the sweeper, so turn 8, so the very long progressive turn, flat out of course, doesn't really require any brakes, and a very early dab of brakes before you go into a very late apex, turn number 9, back onto the main straight. It's a very difficult course to get right. It really looks easy, but it just really isn't. It's a very technical and demanding circuit. It does require every ounce of concentration to nail a good lap around here. So then we have 12th and 11th immediately ahead of us. 3rd place is still a long way ahead, not quite materialising anything here. 4th is perhaps the best I might achieve in this one. We still have the Portuguese guy. I'm just going to call him Ronaldo now, just for ease of use. Now this Aston's going to come out from the desert dunes, and I'm going to react. You can see I just turned left momentarily, so I kind of forgot that he was ghosted. They do go into a ghost quite late, so you do have to get quite close to the back marker before they ghost out. So sometimes it might seem as though they're not going to ghost out, but they will. You just kind of have to trust that the game will work, and it does just at the last moment. So just looking ahead, that is 3rd place. He's slowed right down. You might be able to just make out the 3 there above his car. So there is a chance. With only 2 laps to go though, admittedly. So you can see there as we come out of the final corner, and you can see just behind, just how close it's getting with that Toyota. He's still right on my tail. So that pressure is firmly on. I think I've driven fairly well in the last couple of laps, but that Toyota now, Ronaldo behind, is certainly getting closer, just drawing that a little bit closer. He's going to give me something extra to think about. I do find myself in this situation very often, where I have to really draw a line between attacking the guy ahead and defending from the person behind. So I'm really going to have to really think about how I'm going to attack this race, or go about defending this race possibly. As you can actually see, he's just poking to the bottom of the screen, so he really is getting very close now. So this pole in 11th, going very wide. We can just kind of forget that he's there. Look at where you're supposed to be going. Look at the apex. Look at your braking point. Don't get distracted by this person, because they shouldn't affect you. You should really lose no time passing a back marker, because as you can see, they just go south. So there should be no time loss. So then, the gap to third is still very close. You could see that if he makes one mistake, I could definitely get on that podium as we round out the final lap. But you can see exactly how close that's getting. In fact, it's very close now. I think that back marker went into the wall. I'm going to go very defensive into the first corner. He's going to look around the outside, and I'm just about going to slot in back ahead. So that was a solid defence, if I'm honest. Just about keeping the position. He did very well to almost get that one around the outside, and if he had just got a nose ahead, I wouldn't have been able to turn across him like I did. So good work from the pair of us, I think. And to be fair, this Portuguese guy has been a very good driver in this race, been very respectful, and has been one of the... Luckily, it's been him that's been behind me, not the Italian. Otherwise, I think it might have been a completely different story. But they're coming down into turn number 5 and running very wide, but you have to kind of do that to get on the gas early. Onto the back straight, not many opportunities left for me to get anything done, but he's slowing down. He's slowing right down. He must have a penalty. He's covering the insides. I'm going to have to go around the outside, but now he comes across. And coming through the final corner, he's just going to run me off onto the grass. Sorry, onto the desert dunes. And he's actually gone off himself as well. You can see him there sliding. And it's just gone disastrously wrong. So once again, a total lack of respect shown. Just running me right off the track. And he's actually going to lose position. The Portuguese guy, Ronaldo, has gone up into third. So fair play to him. And I suppose if there's any consolation, at least it was him that went up. And the Italian there, who we featured at the start, is going to go into the pit entry wall. I don't think he's going to lose the position out of that. Actually, I don't know if he will. But it was just funny. I suppose there was some consolation. So, wow. I suppose at least it was the Portuguese guy who went up there into third. I kind of liked him. He raced quite well. And we saw the Italian go into the pit entry barrier. So you can see, yeah, I'm a beginner. And I've put myself on pole for this second race. I'd like to know your thoughts on that first race, by the way. Let me know what you think. Because there was a couple of moments there where people just run you off the track. It's just shoddy. It's just really shoddy. Shoddy work. Just total zero respect shown in some of these races. So this game isn't completely clean. I mean, there are some problems, definitely. Most of it's okay, but you do get the odd nut job who's a bit mental. So then, put myself on pole position. I was kind of fed up with that race. I really kind of had to get it out of my system by just going all out. I'm going to go defensive into turn 1, maintain this position. You can see here, this is the Toyota I was talking about, which had really good cornering speed, even better than the Corvette. And it's around this very long kind of corner that it really, really excels. It's almost like a Formula 1 car in the sense that the faster you go, the more downforce you get, and then the faster you can go more. So it kind of works on that kind of principle, this car. It just feels like it anyway. I'm sure most cars are kind of like that. If you have a wing, then you get more downforce by going quicker, but it doesn't always seem to work that way. This car, it really does. The main downside, of course, is that you have definitely a lot less straight line speed, and that's definitely noticeable in this car. So ideally, going on to each straight, I do need a gap, as I have there. I do have about 4 or 5 temps, or about 3 temps now, going on to the straight. So you need that going on to give yourself that buffer going into the next corner, so that people don't get past you. So into the final corner, onto the main straight once again. So you can see there about half a second gap, and I think that's just about enough to not have to worry about going defensive into turn 1. So when I have a bad race, I think sometimes either I just turn off the console, or I need to just do another race to kind of get that race out of my system. I don't want to leave. Sometimes I don't want to leave the game on a low note, on a sour note. So I want to go out with a bang. So I've chosen this car. It's clearly the best car, I think, for this track in this class, because of its handling capabilities around the long corners. So put it on pole. I don't often do that. Pole position is actually quite rare. I think I've only got about 10 so far, and I've done nearly 90 races in this game. So a less than, or just over 10% strike rate for pole positions, which isn't too high, but this time around just about managing it. And we're aiming, of course, for that race win, which is the main thing. I mean, if you're going to start first, you're not going to want to lose any positions. You're going to want to at least finish where you start. So on this occasion, I pretty much have to finish first. That gap just opening up a little bit more, and this is the situation at the end of lap 4. So the Frenchman behind, still about 7-8 tenths behind, still within sight, within range. He's not too far behind. One mistake, and he gets past. But he makes a very big mistake here. You can see behind, a Brit goes through into second, and here we are at the end of lap number 6. So the gap standing around about 1.7 at this moment. So it's taking about 6-7 laps. They make this very big error. So it's taking about 6 laps. It's taking exactly 6 laps to get that gap up to 1.7, which isn't huge because you see that one mistake and it's gone down to 1 second now. So I lost 6 tenths as a result of that. And that Brit behind is going to be licking his lips because he knows he has a chance here. If he can get within slipstreaming range, then he'll be sitting pretty for the rest of this race, especially now as we're going towards the pit stop phase. If he can get within range, he might be able to jump me in the pit stops. So he's still 1 second behind, and thankfully we've managed to get the normal vanilla gameplay here, so I'm not having to record from a replay, thankfully. I absolutely hate, I'm really not sure why the big black bars are on the replays. It's kind of annoying. It does make it look a bit more dramatic with the narrow band for the replay, but it is annoying to watch. I'd rather just watch it with the full screen. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully turn 10 will change. Hopefully Polyphony will change that, but it doesn't seem to be that way. So through the final corner, coming up to lap someone indeed at this moment, but we are going to just hook over to the left hand side into the pits on the exit. Very close still. He's actually less than a second behind. So we've been racing for a good 10 minutes so far, or 9 minutes actually, and it stands at only a 0.7 second gap. So that is very close racing. Very close racing. Nearly 10 minutes of racing, less than a second gap. That is very close. So this really could go either way. At the moment, I've got a pole position. I've got the current fastest lap, and I'm looking for the complete Grand Slam here. If I could lead every lap, well, I'm not going to lead this lap, but I'm going to lead every lap that there wasn't a pit stop, because of course some people are going to go into the pits at the end of this lap. So you see the leader is actually just ahead of me there, but he's of course going to dive into the pits, you'd imagine, or he has to at some point, unless he's going for a uber long strategy with mega fuel saving, we shall see. Into the final corner, forgetting about the back marker, we've kind of learnt our lesson there, don't really need to bother. And the German there, yes, he's going to peel off to the left. He's going to go into the pits. And that gap's getting ever bigger, so up to 1.8 again. So the Brit behind's had a really bad lap there. He's actually lost a second through lap number 8. And at the end of the race, it's going to transpire to a win. And the gap was actually up to 9 seconds, nearly 10 seconds at the end. So loads of mistakes. So a pole position, fastest lap, and a race win. So after that disaster of a race to kick off the video, we're going to come back with a bang, and I definitely recommend that FT1 VGT. So it's not even a real car, it's a Vision Gran Turismo car, but it is really good around any track with long winding corners. It's very good. But let me know your thoughts, guys, on the video. I do hope you enjoyed it as always. Please do subscribe if you'd like to see more of the same, and do hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It always helps me out. Many thanks for watching, guys. I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.